All right, let's get right into it. You ever get that feeling that there's some kind of deep shift happening? Something changing not just out there in the world, but inside us too? Well, today we're exploring a really powerful idea from our source material. The idea that humanity is right on the edge of a massive quantum leap in consciousness. I mean, does this hit home for you? It's that feeling, right? You get a taste of just being present, totally free from all that noise in your head, and then bam, you're pulled right back into worrying about yesterday or stressing about tomorrow. Our source kicks off with this because it's a feeling pretty much every single one of us knows. It's the human condition in a nutshell. And that exact struggle, that little glimpse of freedom that feels almost impossible to hold on to, that's our starting point. Think of it like a crack in the old foundation. And through that crack, something totally new is starting to peek through. But here's the thought. What if that personal battle you have with your own mind isn't just your private drama? What if it's actually a symptom of something way bigger? The source material asks us to zoom out and consider that this is part of a huge planet-wide transformation. And this, right here, is the core idea we're digging into. A profound awakening of consciousness. A waking up from what the source calls the dream of matter, form, and separation. So, we're not just talking about individual self-help tips here. We are talking about a collective evolution for all of us. So to really get where we might be going, we have to look at where we've been. The source calls our old way of thinking the time-bound mode of consciousness. You can think of it like humanity's old, buggy operating system. It's a state where we're completely tangled up in our own thoughts, totally trapped in the past and the future. Okay, so this chart really lays out the whole shift. On the one side, you've got the old mode, being completely run by our mental habits, lost in this dream of the physical world, and feeling separate from everyone and everything. But on the other side, that's the new mode. It's all about breaking those old patterns, waking up from the dream, and realizing that we're all connected. And maybe the most mind-bending part of all is this shift from being trapped by time to what the source calls the ending of time. And you gotta understand, this is a huge deal. We are talking about breaking free from mental habits that have had humanity in their grip for eons. These aren't just little personal quirks. The source argues they're the root cause of so much unimaginable suffering throughout our entire history. Now here's a really challenging idea from the source. What if we took a word like evil and just reframed it? The argument is that it's maybe more useful to see all the destructive things humans do as a kind of collective insanity, a deep, deep state of unconsciousness. Now, this isn't about making excuses. It's about trying to understand the root cause instead of just passing judgment. Okay, so if this massive awakening is really happening, that leads to a really big question, doesn't it? It's a kind of paradox that we really need to try and unpack. And yeah, this is the big one. Do we have to actively work at this? Do we have to make this awakening happen? Or is it just this inevitable wave of change that we can kind of kick back and wait for? And the answer from the source is, well, it's both. The paradox just dissolves. When you look at it from a higher perspective, the things we do and the evolution that's happening to us are not two different things at all. They're basically two sides of the very same coin. So how can that be? Well, it all comes down to this. You're not an island. You are part of the whole of consciousness that is evolving. So your personal awakening is the collective awakening in action. Your doing is just a part of the grand happening. You can't separate them. Now, that's a pretty empowering way to look at it, right? But, and this is a really big but, there's also a real sense of urgency here. The source is incredibly clear that the stakes couldn't possibly be any higher. So let this one sink in for a second. This is not a movie with a guaranteed happy ending. The source flat out says that our success, our evolution as a species, it's not a done deal, not at all. And just to really hammer this point home, the awakening is not inevitable, it's not automatic, it's not some cosmic train that's just going to show up at the station whether we get on board or not. There's a critical ingredient that's still missing. So if it's not guaranteed, what is it? What's that one final essential ingredient that's going to decide which way this all goes? And there it is. It's you. It's your participation, your conscious choice to actually engage with this whole process. The argument is that our individual cooperation is an absolutely essential part of this. The transformation literally cannot happen without us. And this is what our cooperation makes possible. Nothing less than a quantum leap. We're not talking about a slow, gradual crawl forward. The source is describing a sudden, radical, massive jump into a whole new way of being. So why does it matter so much? Because according to the source, this isn't just some nice spiritual upgrade. This awakening, this quantum leap, it's being framed as our one and only chance of survival as a species. So that leaves us with one final, unavoidable question. We've laid out the map, a planetary awakening that isn't guaranteed, one that requires our active cooperation for the very survival of our race. The only question left is the one that all of this points to: what is your part in it?